Jobs, gigs, positions, and promotions. Opportunities which should be available for all, no matter what the background is. So, what are businesses doing to include and encourage diversity in the workplace? Well, TickerWork, it starts right now.
TickerWork, presented by IntoWork Australia, the leading national providers of employment skills and support.
Hello and welcome back to TickerWork together with the team at IntoWork, and it's been said that the workplace should reflect the society that we live in with its diversity values and a firm belief that the right person will get the job. There is also a strong business case as well. So, however, there are still a lot of deeply ingrained and incorrect notions about what it would mean to hire someone outside the status quo, as it were, such as a person with a disability who is Indigenous or different sexuality or gender. That's just to name a few. But business owners may be worried about the possible cost, liability, ability, insurance, etc. If you are thinking of the negative impact to your business, then you are in for a very big surprise today. There is a long list of advantages when you diversify the team that you work with, of course, as well. And joining me to help explain some of the advantages of diversifying your business is Poul, the Group CEO of IntoWork Australia, a leading national provider of services that support economic and social participation through employment, training, recruitment, and corporate solutions. Paul, you guys do it all, and thank you so much for joining me in the studio.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
All right, so some businesses are a little scared of that word diversity. I sort of highlighted some of the big worries that people have. What are some of the misconceptions that you've witnessed when you've been out there in the wild world?
Yeah, look, I guess I'm not really sure how much of it's about businesses being scared of it. They might be a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive about what does it actually mean to move more into the space. But one thing I'm really encouraged with is there seems to have been quite a shift that's occurred in the last few years, more from a tick box exercise that probably used to be around in the past where people were trying to say, well, we have to reach certain expectations from the community, for people starting to realise that actually does make a significant difference when we diversify our workforce, our team that are there, from all sorts of different types of companies out there. So it's exciting to see that shift starting to occur. But yes, there is still this, I guess, subconscious or unconscious bias that can occur for a lot of people about, well, there's certain types of jobs that we're used to seeing certain people in. And I think it's that realization that, hang on a second, that's actually just because of the bias that we've always had. We're used to seeing certain people in certain types of roles. And then there's realization that, hang on a second, there's far more diversity out there and people can do far more than we realize they could.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about advantages and things that you've witnessed about businesses diversifying who they hire and when they hire, I suppose.
Yeah, look, there's been a whole range of different studies about this, and that's been part of the encouraging thing. One of the things we have is you've got that some of the anecdotal evidence coming through, and then you've got some of the empirical data starting to come through as well. And I think the business sector is starting to pick up and then go, hang on a second, there's some really concrete data. It's interesting that the University of Queensland, for instance, they've done this quite significant piece of research as well, and they've come up with that there's a far better utilisation of organisational talent, there's increased marketplace understanding, there's better creativity, better problem-solving capabilities, and just overall better performance. Now, why would that be the case? I think one of the things is that we've increasingly realised that as you have diversity, whether it is gender diversity, whether it's a range of different types of abilities, I guess we would otherwise call them people living with a disability as well, but a whole range of different abilities in the workforce, different types of gender backgrounds, and you've got all of that now coming into the mix. You bring a whole range of strengths within that. You've got different cultural backgrounds, far more recognition about what can happen as you increase the amount of people who have, I guess, the number of First Nations people as well, the different cultural backgrounds all the people have as they move from overseas into Australia. That's all helped to strengthen and enrich. Now, why? Because people carry these experiences, the backgrounds that they have, and they bring that to the fullness within their workplace. They can also relate to customers in a far more diverse way as well. And they can also pick up different opportunities and trends, and that the rest of the workforce, which is tended to be just around one particular type of focused individual that are working in the workforce, they would otherwise miss. So I think that's helped to make it far richer. I guess one of the classic ones is around the building construction trades. So there it has tended to be, and it still is, a majority of males within the workforce there.
Of course.
And I think that shift, as it started to occur, has started to companies starting to realise that, hang on a second, as we have more women within the workforce, we're actually becoming more effective in terms of how we're delivering our customer service too. So it's actually helped to revolutionise a number of businesses.
Perfect time to bring in our guest for today, Poul. Over the page, and Darian Yeo is the Oceania Diversity, Equity and Inclusiveness Leader for Ernst Young and has spent the last 10 years at EY in senior talent leadership roles, partnering with executive leaders and developing and leading strategic and operational people initiatives. It's very exciting stuff. Darian, welcome into the studio and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start off quite simply, I suppose, in a workplace setting. What advantages have you witnessed for businesses taking on a more diverse set of employees and team members, etc.?
Look, great question, Mike. There's a huge amount of advantages as to why an organisation should be bringing on a more diverse and inclusive workforce. And I probably want to call out that diversity in itself is not enough in itself. It is really important to be able to really harness and foster the differences that people do bring, and these are diversities that we're talking about. It's really important to value each and every one of those, because that in itself is about creating a culture of inclusion, a sense of belonging, and for people to feel that they can really bring their whole selves to work. I mean, and that's when we really see the benefits start to kick in. Some of those benefits include higher creativity, innovation. We're seeing diversity of thought really come to life. High performing teams. We're seeing essentially better business outcomes. Productivity, profitability, we see greater retention of our people, less turnover, engagement.
So Darian, I guess in relation to what Ernst Young has done to retain talent and people with disabilities and from all these different walks of life, what are some examples you guys can give of how you've managed to do that and celebrate people on your workforce?
Mike, there's a number of things that we certainly are doing. It is important to call out, I guess, that a lot of it might start with our recruitment teams or our talent attraction sourcing teams. And that's to ensure that they are well equipped in terms of how they interact and how they can best support candidates as we bring them into the process. And so there's quite an amount of training, such as disability awareness and inclusion training, that all of that team undergoes. And that's to ensure that throughout every step of the process, right from the very start, that candidates actually do feel comfortable to raise for them to actually alert to us if there's any if they require any particular adjustments that's going to allow them to participate more equitably throughout the process. So that's a really big one. I think secondly also, we're particularly proud of a program that we ran actually last year. It was called Switched On. It was actually in partnership with the University of Sydney and the Brain and Mind Centre.
Nice.
It was a pilot autism employment program, and that was an opportunity for adults or for school leavers as well, through university students, to participate, those who are neurodivergent, and to be able to participate in a professional services firm and opportunities perhaps that they may not have been able to previously access or may not have felt that they could. We're really proud of that, and up to actually almost 70% actually of participants of that program have actually been offered a form of employment ongoing from there.
So I think it's important to highlight that opportunity that they may never had because the doors weren't open or the arms weren't open to embracing them and their background. So I love that. But how does a business perhaps approach diversifying their workforce? Are there any steps or things, that first step they could take or that beginning to get them going?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of that also will start maybe an obvious step maybe through recruitment of diverse individuals. And I think again it's probably though important to call out that inclusion piece is really important. Diversity in itself, you can't just bring people in. We can't, without a culture of inclusion and that sense of belonging, diversity is meaningless. So I think I just really want to highlight that piece. But in terms of, I guess, some practical steps, we've certainly partnered with external providers such as the Australian Network for Disability, who can provide expertise, advice in helping with adjustments. It's also important also to look at how you might want to what's the term, to work work alongside with people who have lived experience with disabilities. That's probably the most important piece around what adjustments that they may require, that what's going to be practical for them and how we can accommodate that. And I think final comment I would make is at a practical level, organisations do need to consider sort of the systems, the processes, the infrastructure, how again you might be able to support and on an ongoing basis, on a daily basis, somebody with a disability to allow them to thrive.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? Thriving and finding those advantages and including everyone. So I really appreciate your time today and joining us. I'm sure you're very, very busy down at Ernst Young, but Darian Yeo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Some really great points there. And Paul, thank you so much for bringing such great guests and such great topics. And it's quite clear that Ernst Young are clearly leading and championing some great initiatives as well.
They're a very impressive organisation, aren't they? The way in which they have worked on building their diverse workforce. And look, we work with tens of thousands of companies right across Australia. One of the things we've realised is you need to have some specialist skills and help. And government has also put a lot of investment into supporting companies to be able to develop up their workforces to ensure they are more inclusive and more diverse as well.
Okay,
so it's programs like disability employment services as well that we run, and so do others across the country, where you can actually get additional supports to be able to bring people on who are living with a disability into your workplace. There's also new programs replacing Job Active, which are for longer term unemployed under Workforce Australia, that we, alongside again many others, are running those. And they're ways of helping people who are maybe older as well as people who are longer term unemployed to be able to get into the workforce. There's also just a range of other ones for younger people who are more marginalised, migrants who've entered into the country, Indigenous people as well. How do you engage them more effectively into your workforce? So there's a range of additional supports. They are either one-on-one sort of coaching, mentoring support, as well as some financial supports from government. So people can get onto our website, they can give us a call on 1300 99-WORK, or they can get onto business.gov.au as well. So they can access all of those, find out more information, or give us a call, and we will, by all means, our team there will have a chat with companies and individuals one-on-one to be able to provide the support to them.
That's what it's all about. Paul, thank you so much for joining me on the program. I think it's been a really important discussion today, and as always, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, well, that's it from me for now. I want to thank you for your time, and of course, please head over to IntoWork and find out a little bit more about them, and of course, a big thanks to them for bringing these great discussions today. I've been your host, Mike Loader, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Be well.